party people. I am excited to be here with you, and I'm excited to talk about rapid manifestation. I'm not really talking about rapid manifestation today. What I'm talking about today is one of the keys that I found that unlocked rapid manifestation for me. So I'm going to pull up my notes. I want to do a quick invitation as I jump into what I want to share with you today to Accelerated Overflow, which is a micro program that I'm running next week. It's a 2-part series. It's actually 4 parts in total. So we ran Accelerated Overflow Part 1 back in October of 2021, and it was so powerful. It was about creating at the speed of wealth. This one is about next level receiving. And what Accelerated Overflow is a deep dive journey into creating at the speed of wealth on a soul level from the inside out. If you've been thinking about joining us for it, the price will increase by $100 every day leading up to the class. Why do I do this? I do this because what I've learned is that most entrepreneurs, especially women, we lack the ability, or we have lost the capacity and the ability to trust ourselves with our decision making. And so I'm going to give you a little nudge. If you know and you feel in your heart, your soul, your spirit, that there is a call and a tug for you to be in the room with me. So I want to invite you to join us. I'll talk a little bit more about it later, but I wanted to do that right at the top of this to get it out the way now. And I want to dive into just some lessons and some learnings that have come up for me lately, where I realize how I've allowed wealth to show up in my life more rapidly than I ever had before. If you know anything about my story, you know that it took me 12 years of operating a business before my business crossed the $1 million mark. Now, there wasn't a steady trajectory of growth that entire time. The growth trajectory happened about 5 years ago, where we started rapidly accelerating my income, doubling it every year. And it's because of a lot of the things that I teach today, and a lot of the things that I do with my clients. What I realize is that 2 things. One, it's not about what you do. It's not about the action you take. It's about who you're being inside of the action. That is the game changer. Who you be while you do the thing matters more than the doing of the thing, which is why so many people go about doing, and they don't accomplish anywhere near what they are capable of. That is the first thing that I've learned. And that was me. I was a doer. I was a go-getter. Like, just what do I need to do next? Right? I could do all the things, yet I wasn't seeing the fruit of my labors to the degree that I desired until I learned these things. The second thing is there is a shift that has occurred in me, and that occurs in every client that I've supported in getting to 6-figure months, or from 6-figure years to 6-figure months. That shift, you can see it. It is palpable. You can feel it. There's a change and a shift that happens from the inside out. Every client that I've worked with, if you notice, there's a timeline that you can see when they started work with me, and this shift happens. And what I want you to understand is that that shift is tied to you. It is yours and yours alone. The resonance and the frequency of that shift, it is yours. It is a divine assignment. You can't get it from somebody else. It belongs to you. It is God ordained. It's yours. And what I allow my clients to do is I become a mirror that magnifies what's on the inside of them to access that power, that palpable resonance of who they are meant to be on the planet, who they're meant to be on the earth. So today we're going to talk about activating rapid manifestation and some lessons that I learned just in the last couple of weeks. So I have a question for you, and the question is this: or are you, or have you been wishing for someone else's assignment? Now, we don't logically go around like, I wish I could do what that person's doing. But sometimes on the inside of us, we're like, why does that person get to have this and that way? Ooh, I would love to look like that, feel like that, speak like that, sing like that, whatever that is. So have you secretly, I'll say it that way, somewhere deep down on the inside of you, been wishing for someone else's assignment? Have you been wishing for someone else's assignment? Because if you are, what happens is you're so focused on their assignment, there's no one there to fulfill yours. I'll let that sink in. I have a story for you. I was at a retreat a couple of weeks ago and we did a leadership activity, and it was actually a game. It was called, y'all know I like games, right? It was actually called the Samurai Game. And the Samurai Game is kind of crazy. Like, you got grown adults playing games. And so for me, I'm like, give me any task and I'll do it. There's things I know how to do. Like, I can lift weights and, do crazy things for long periods of time, but it wasn't like standard stuff. It was like playing rock, paper, scissors and, standing on one leg for the longest, just like ridiculous things, balancing a stick on your finger, things that you don't necessarily have access of mastery over. However, if you can find that place within you, that center of power, and center yourself, get control of your body and your mind and your soul, what you find is you can actually do a lot of these things with some relative consistency. And so this game had crazy rules, like we couldn't look the war god in the eye, which was the guy who was running the game. Like, you had to look away. If you looked him in the eye, you died. And anytime you didn't complete a task, or if you were battling, there was battles, there was the North and the South. And if you battled another person, and you lost, so you didn't hold your, balance the stick on your finger longer than someone else, you died. And there was an actual graveyard where they buried you. And so I learned a lot of lessons from this game. And I want to tell you, first thing I want to do is out myself, because I am, if you know me, I'm competitive, super competitive, which I think was my problem. But I was the first person to die in the game, the very first person to die. This game was 2.5 hours long. So in the graveyard, you're dead. You don't get to move or do anything. So I laid on my back for 2 full hours while everyone else finished playing the game, and I could hear everything going on around me. So I'm not going to start with that lesson. I'm going to back up a little bit. And there's a point. Just stick with me here. I get called out to battle, and I'm not the first to go into battle. I'm the second to go into battle. The first to go into battle is balancing on one leg. They're doing the balancing thing on one leg. So the war god calls for someone to do soaring eagle. And soaring eagle is arms spread like an eagle, and you lean forward on one leg with the one leg behind you like an eagle. And whoever can hold that for the longest will win. Now, this is something that I can do. My legs are pretty strong. I could hold it for a fairly long time. But I want to give you some insight into what was going on the inside of me, which is what I talked about earlier why I said what I said about secretly wanting someone else's assignment. So as we begin to do Soaring Eagle, one of the things he said immediately was like, get your legs up. Your legs aren't high enough. So my leg was fairly high, but I commenced to doing it higher. And then I'm looking at the person who is my opponent. And I have all this chatter in my head, like, your leg's not high enough. You're not playing the game right. You're not doing the rule. I'm all in her business and not in my own. And as I'm doing all of this, I can feel my body, my weight starting to shift. And I'm like, oh, shoot, I am going down. And I did. And again, so I end up laying on the floor. I'm dead. And then my team is able to bury me once, the road gets cleared. And here's the thing. It wasn't about me having the skill set to do a thing. And I want you to think about your own life and your own business. It wasn't that I could or could not do it, the Soaring Eagle thing. But I was not focused on my own journey. I was focused on somebody else's lane. I was all in her business. Who said she had to do it like me? Who said that we had to do the exact thing the exact same way in order for it to be effective? Apparently not. She won. And so I thought about how many times I'm like super nosy. Like, how many times am I looking at what everybody else is doing and wondering if they are doing it as well as I was doing it, right? Or if they are teaching it like I'm teaching it. And sometimes thinking maybe they're teaching it better and maybe I should change and do it like them. And it takes me completely off my game. And for a lot of the building of my business, that is how I spent my time. I spent my time going, I can't say a thing if somebody else is already saying it. What I started to learn over time is that I don't believe that God gives messages to a single person. I have seen it happen over and over again. Someone I don't know, never met before. And the message is either similar or almost exactly the same or the same. Because I believe that when a message is meant for masses, that more than one person will get that message, that methodology, that way of doing a thing. And so it reminded me, Shameca, that for your next level, it is going to require you to have mastery of self. One of the other things that I was doing during this game is I was listening for my team's support really, really hard. Like, who's cheering? Are they supporting me? So hard that I wasn't centered and focused on myself. My mind was all over the place and wondering. Here's the second lesson that I learned from that. Stop trying to find other people to validate what you know God already put inside of you. Remember, I had the skill set. It's something that I do often. We do silly things in CrossFit where we have to lift weights and, be on one leg. So I want to say that again. Stop trying to find other people, someone else to validate what you know God already put on the inside of you. Because who you are meant to be, you kind of already are. I mean, this thing is about becoming, but you have the makings of all of it already on the inside of you. Stacia just wrote the mastery of self. Absolutely. It's the mastery of self. The badass, the giant, she's already inside of you. The one who calls in premium, or actually, let's say the premium next level version of you, she who gets paid in full, tens of thousands of dollars. She who calls in next level, high caliber clients that inspire you, that call you to your highest self. The clients that I serve now, they're badasses. I tell them all the time, I'm like, you don't need me. It's not a needing of me, but you allow me to hold you through the transformation, right? They are badasses in their own right, but they cause me to pull down on the God stuff that God put inside of me that I could only do by tapping into who I be on that level, right? They cause me to pull down on my God ordained genius. The you that calls in quality clients, quality relationships that nourish and feed your soul on a level that your life changes and lives are changed in a symbiotic nature, where life is good and joy and laughter flows freely and opportunity abounds. It's accessible to you. However, to access that level of abundance, there is a death that must occur. And this was my other lesson in the samurai game as I lie there in the graveyard for the 2 hours. Stick with me. To access this level of abundance, you don't have to be who you've been any longer. Now, I know most of you listening to me, you're listening to me right now and you're thinking, I'm talking about your failures and disappointments and the you don't want to be anymore. Most of us got that down pat. It's not about you being a phoenix rising from the ashes. What I'm talking about is the you that won before. Let that sink in. When I say you don't have to be who you've been before, I'm not talking about the you that is unable or incapable of going to where you want to be and that you have to die to that self. But the you that has succeeded over and over and over again, the you that accomplished whatever that big goal is you're holding on to, going, I want to be at that place again. I want to repeat that. Can I beat that? High achievers are adept at leaving the glory days behind, right? Or adept at rising from the ashes and overcoming setbacks and failures and fighting to win and like driving and doing all of those things. But what we aren't adept at is leaving the glory days behind. We're always trying to one up our last win. I'll say this again. You do not have to be who you have been any longer. In this drawer and the desk that I'm sitting in, because this desk has been with me for well over a decade, time to get a new one. There's an envelope that has some bank statements from when my business was the highest success it was before this one. And they're still there. I think there was like 20 something $1,000 in the bank, and it was the most money I'd ever had in the bank at the time. And I held on to them because I'd lost everything. And I held on to them as a reminder that I'd once been great and that I could be great again. But there came a point in this journey where I had to let her go and become an altogether different version of me. one that could not be referenced by who I had been, even though who I had been was my most successful up until that point. I was trying to get back to her. Now, for me, that's a time and place, but for you, it could be the biggest client you've ever had, the most money you've ever made, right? The happiest you've ever been. You're trying to recreate what was. And the truth is, we never recreate what was because the circumstances are never the same. And I see many people fighting this over and over and over and over and over again. I don't know who this is for, but I know it's for somebody. Listen, there is an ability inside of all of us. We all have the power to choose. We each, I'll say it that way, have the power to choose. You have the power to choose, and I have the power to choose. At any given moment, we can be whatever God desires or calls us to be, like that. You are not a fixed entity. You don't have to recreate what you had before, who you were before. You can begin to recode your identity for now. You don't have to be informed. Who you are becoming does not have to be informed by your past. We don't have to revisit it. We don't have to dig it up. We can start from where we are right now. And that's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned that has allowed me to access rapid levels of overflow. Here's why. Because my numbers in January of most years did not tell me that I was going to have $1 million year. And if I used those numbers to inform me, then I would have chosen decisions that would have cost me the $1 million in that year. What I've learned is I can begin at any step of the journey today, right now, deciding and creating based on what I desire to create, which allowed me to collapse time over and over again, right? It took me 12 years to get to my first million, right? And I'm pretty sure I have to do the math. I made $1 million in my lifetime up to that point. So that was there. The knowing was in my DNA, right? However, it took me 12 years to get to $1 million in a single year. Fast forward to the next year, I have $1 million day. Why? Because of what I'm sharing with you right now. I have learned and mastered the collapsing of time. I have learned overflow and manifestation from a soul level, from the inside out, to the degree that I'm able to speed up time for things that I'm just recently learning, where it took me 12 years to learn how to do it in a year. In a 12-month period of time, I was able to collapse time and do it in a 24-hour period. $1 million in revenue generated. We all have the power to choose at any given moment. You are not a fixed entity, but you don't have to, your past does not have to inform your future, not even the good past. You go, well, I've never done this before. It's okay. Once you decide you can do it today, right? I've had $2 million months, right? And $1 million day. And what I will tell you is that there is a point of decision, that at that point of decision, it is where you activate or deactivate. Let me say that, your next level of abundance. And in order to activate it, what I found is there's 3 things that I had to get a clear understanding about. And the more I learn about these things and apply the principles to my life, the more I'm able to meld and move time and bend time and do crazy things without the pressure of trying to create. And so I want to share these 3 things. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them. We are going to go deep in some of these elements during the second installment of Accelerated Overflow. We have done it as well in part 1. We talked about some receiving elements, creating at the speed of wealth. But here are those 3 things. The first thing is this understanding about frequency, and that everything actually is frequency. Everything has a frequency, and frequency is fluid. It's constantly moving and changing, especially yours, our own. Everything has a frequency, and you have the ability to calibrate to all that is around you. Sometimes we think we're stuck. Like, we grow up in the hood, we think we're stuck in the hood, right? We have this, we make $500,000 a year every single year, and we think that's just it. That's just where it is. But that's where your frequency is. So everything has a frequency. So at the retreat that I was at, this was 2 weeks ago. So at the retreat that I was at, we were in a 25,000 square foot mansion. I'm going to say that again, 25,000 square foot mansion. Now, I've been in big houses and mansions before, so I wasn't like, oh my gosh, the mansion. But there were some elements to this one that popped open possibility to me. And so I decided to make a decision to make sure that I was allowing the resonance and the frequency of what I was surrounded with, the level of luxury that I was surrounded with, to enter who I was being in the moment. I noticed it from the moment I walked into the door. And so I slowed down and stopped and took a deep breath because I didn't want to miss the moment of crossing the threshold into a frequency that wasn't yet mine. And so I did that, and I get inside and I look to the right, and there's an elevator. This house is 3 stories tall. There's an elevator in the house, not one of those rinky dink, like lift elevators are small. Like I got an elevator in my house, like a full-fledged hotel elevator, which I was thanking God for because I had a lot of bags. But there was an elevator, and that was the first thing. It was like something you can do. And I'm looking around, there's all these things. And usually, like when houses have basketball courts, they're in the backyard or they build it off to the side. One of the rooms, of course, there was a theater and all the things that you normally would have in a large home this size. But the half court basketball court was indoors. You just go downstairs and hook a right, and it was there. Of course, I used it. I used everything that was there. I touched everything. And I do that for a reason, because I know that you have the ability to calibrate to the frequency of anything that's around you. But the thing that let me know that I was in a different level of something I've never been in before, because I'd never thought of it, was that this house had an entire spa. I'm going to say that again. An entire spa, not like a steam room, a sauna, a massage room, an entire spa built in the backyard. So you go down the stairs, past the pools, you hook a left. And when you hook a left, there was a standalone building off on the side of the home. When you open the door, there was a reception area and a seating area where someone could greet you. It smelled like the spa. When you walked in, there were 2 bathrooms with full showers, 1 bathroom that didn't have a shower. When you walked into the door, right on your right, there was a full gym. Right. So usually people will build a gym, do all those things, but this was a full spa with a gym, with bathrooms. There was a relaxation room, the one you go in the spa where they're playing the music and they have the pillows and you lay on the chairs and it's just quiet. There was a full relaxation room in there, full size relaxation room, a full treatment room with the most incredible spa or massage table or bed I had ever seen. It was cushiony and thick. And I was like, wow, never seen one of those before. And there was both a full size or regular size, not a teeny tiny one, steam room and sauna. When I say there was a full spa, there was a full spa. Now, I love spas. I go to the spa once a month, minimum. This month, I've already been 3 times. I go once a month. Trust, every single day I use the spa because I wanted to normalize and calibrate to the frequency of someone who has the ability to walk out of their house and go enjoy those things on a daily basis. So I put my robe on. I walked down every single night. I had a spa day, as if I had a spa appointment. We each, I'm going to say that again, have the ability to calibrate to all that is around us. And that was one of the first lessons I learned in activating abundance. And so I began to put myself in abundant situations so that I had the ability to calibrate to that. It started with first class flying. I've been flying first class for about 6 years now. When I first started doing it, what I used to do was I would go on American Airlines and I would wait for them to have first class available. And it was happening every single time. And I would $99 upgrade to first class. And that's how I was flying first class in the beginning. And then I think one time happened where I wasn't able to do it. And then that was the last time I just started paying for first class seats every single time. And so I've been continuing to do this over and over and over again. I've realized that's just one of the smallest decisions that I've made that have allowed me to continually recalibrate who I'm being and what shows up in my life. So that was lesson number 1 is learning and having this understanding that everything is frequency. There's a resonance to everything, and that frequency is fluid, and that I, both of us, we have the ability to calibrate to everything that's around us. The second lesson that I had to learn was proximity. So along with the calibration is, how often do you put yourself in proximity to what it is that you desire? How often do you choose it, or do you choose in lack? Do you choose like, I can't afford the thing? Or do you choose, it's not always I can't afford it, because sometimes you can't. But how often do you make these decisions, not even thinking about the fact that you're choosing to be surrounded by or in proximity to those things that you want? Like, okay, some of you guys might like Southwest Airlines. I cannot fly Southwest Airlines because there is a sense of, actually, I'll just call it lack. There's a resonance and a frequency of lack. Why? Because Southwest Airlines, you can sit anywhere that you want on the plane. You just have to get on there first. So all these people are like standing up hours before their name's going to be called because they're in the last boarding zone, but they're trying to be in the front. And it's just a lot of like pushing and prodding. And I can feel that energy. So when you choose something like that, you're choosing to be in proximity to that frequency and that resonance. I choose differently. I choose luxury experiences. I choose service. I choose to operate in things that give me that resonance of freedom of choice. Because I know that when I have all the money that I desire to have, and everything is not money, right? But when life is good, I will have a freedom about myself. A freedom to laugh, a freedom to be, a freedom to choose or decide how I do a thing independent of money. And so I'm always looking at who am I in proximity to, and what am I putting myself into proximity to? And these decisions, they inform the masterminds that I join, the programs that I invest in, the events that I attend. They inform all of those things. They inform the hotels that I stay at. They inform so many things, restaurants that I eat at. It just informs a lot for me, because it allows me to remember that every time I'm in proximity to what I desire, something that's, a higher level than what I currently have access to on my own, that I'm actually getting that opportunity again to calibrate to that frequency. The last thing that I had to learn was this understanding of receiving. And during this accelerated overflow session, we are going to dive a lot into receiving, and you're expanding your capacity to receive, but allowing myself to receive and being open to receive anything that comes to me. And it's a game that I play, right? Receiving is not just about money. Receiving is about so many things. Receiving is about compliments. Receiving is about support, team supporting you, I do it myself. Receiving is about allowing your friends to pay for your food. I was hanging out with Michelle, who's my CFO, this past week, and we went to dinner. We ate together a lot, and we were like rushing to like pay the bill, and not even from a place of lack, like, oh, I don't want her paying for me again, because there is a joy in also being able to allow someone else to receive who's always giving, right? And so, in those moments where she beat me to it, I just back off and say, I take that abundance that's coming into my life. So it's in simple things as well. And the more you open your receiving, work your receiving muscle, open your receiving channel, the more you allow things to show up in your life, not just show up, but at a faster rate and speed. Some of you can't get to where you're trying to go because you're closed off and don't even realize it. You desire the thing, but anytime support comes in any way, you shut it down because you can do it, right? And so I had to learn the lesson of allowing myself to receive on all levels in all things, from someone asking if they can carry my bags. Even when we got to the retreat, someone said, hey, can I help you with your bags? And I was like, oh, I can grab it. That was a thought in my mind, but I was like, absolutely, yes. Right? All the time. Whenever it's offered, I'm a yes. And sometimes it's not even just whenever it's offered. It's learning to request and ask for what you desire. So those are the three things that I've like really, really, even now, I am still making sure that I understand them, but that I'm living them on a soul level so that it's easy for things to flow to me. Everything is frequency, and frequency is fluid. I have the ability to calibrate to everything that's around me. Proximity is important. What I am in proximity to is important. Putting myself in proximity is important. To all I desire is important. Receiving and being open to receive in all areas of my life, not just breath and all of the things. Like receiving is the creator. If you think about how babies are made and the woman's body and the receiving, like receiving is the thing where, and the crazy thing is that most of us struggle with receiving the most. The more I have mastery of myself and lead myself in these areas, the faster things come to me. And it seems like they come out of nowhere. Last thing I want to share is this. You are whoever you have chosen to be in this moment. And even with myself, I'm sitting with that. I've been sitting with it throughout my life, right? There was a time where I wasn't willing to take ownership of that statement. You are whoever you have chosen to be in this moment. I take full ownership of that for myself, right? You are experiencing the level of abundance you have chosen to experience in this very moment. Sit with that. You are experiencing the level of abundance you have chosen to experience in this moment. It's not about your desires. It's about what you allow. What you allow to come to you. I had lots of stories, and we don't have time to go through all of this, but I had lots of stories about why I wasn't the one who could have millions, even though I desired it. There was lots of anchored little stories from where I grew up to the fact that I was a teen mom, to the fact that I had lost a business before, all kinds of stories, little things, from the color of my skin to the fact that I'm a woman. Little small anchored stories in my subconscious where I was making micro decisions daily that level of abundance wasn't available to me. And now I'm having awarenesses around for my next level of abundance. I'm running a $30 million company. Every day I have to choose to be the CEO the founder and CEO of a $30 million company so that I can experience that level of abundance, so that the day speeds up where I've chosen it. I'm going to say that one more time. You're experiencing the level of abundance you have chosen to experience in this very moment. I want you to sit with that. Abundance is inside of all of us. And when you realize this, like when I say abundance, I mean it. I mean abundance overflowing. Right? That's why the class that I'm teaching is called Accelerated Overflow, because I'm not just talking about press down, shaking together, running over abundance. I'm talking about rapid press down, shaking together, running over, right? Not just overflow, but accelerated overflow, faster than you can even imagine. And for some of you, that makes you uncomfortable even thinking about that. Why does it have to be fast? Everything good takes time. I don't want to lose it, right? Those are those decisions and choices. Abundance is inside of all of us. And when you realize this, when you crack yourself wide open and expand your capacity to receive on every level, every good thing, you're not punishing yourself. One of my clients bought herself a luxury purse. And she's like, I bought this because I'm going to quit my job. And she's like, I haven't used it yet. I was like, if you don't go use that purse, you bought it. Right? The punishments we give ourselves, like, until you do this, you can't do that. Expand your capacity to receive all that is available to you in this moment. It was available. She can use it. Use it now. So when you realize this, and you crack yourself wide open, expand your capacity to receive. When you heal the outdated programming, beliefs, and paradigms that no longer serve you, that no longer have to drive you. Paradigms is a big one because that's a collective belief, and we can all collectively shift paradigms, like the paradigm of the get rich quick scheme. Doesn't have to be a scheme. It could be a decision, right? I always say this at Game On Live. It's not a get rich quick scheme. It's a get rich quick decision. Deciding that I want to allow it to come to me faster and faster. But that's an outdated paradigm that the collective believes. When you do this, this is when you activate the abundance that's already within you, and rapid manifestations begin to happen. God winks begin to show up in your money, your business, the impact. Generational shifts happen. Generational curses are broken, never to be seen again because of you, because of how you decide. This is when everything that your soul is crying out for right now, but isn't present in your current reality begins to show up. On Tuesday, we are setting the atmosphere for that change to happen. It's a 2-part micro course and a deep dive into creating wealth on a soul level. Part 1 happened in October. Anybody who purchases this part 2, which is next level receiving, part 1 was the speed of wealth, will get both 1 and 2. Okay. Each part has 2 classes attached to it. And I'll be leading the next Accelerated Overflow program. So here's the deal. It is currently $497. Again, you get lifetime access to both programs. Plus you get something I've just started doing is I'm creating these wealth activation audios. And the first one is called The Frequency of Possibility. You listen to it daily to activate the abundance and wealth in your life. So The Frequency of Possibility is my first ever of the wealth activation audio series that I'm doing. You get access to that as a bonus, as well as the both Accelerated Overflow sessions. I want you to listen closely to this. Every day from today on, the investment in Accelerated Overflow will increase by $100. You must learn to trust yourself. You must learn to decide a thing and move on a thing, because it's not the decision. The decision is the creator, but the action is the receiver. It's either one or the other. They're either doing a lot of action, but no deciding, or they're doing a lot of deciding and no action. They're like, I decided it should show up. The decision is the creator. The action is the receiver, and work the muscle of trusting yourself. Most of you are brilliant. Not most of you, all of you. If you're attracted to me, if you listen to me, if you hang out with me, you're a brilliant, badass. You know things. You can do things. You can make stuff happen. However, things have happened in your life that have eroded your self-trust over time, including people that show up in your life that ask you or require you to depend on them more than you depend on yourself. Got to go ask my this person or that person. You have God-ordained authority inside of you. And the more you lean into it, the more rapidly you'll get to where you're trying to go. And so this is an exercise in that. So today it's $497. The next day will be $597. The next day will be $697. It'll increase by $100 every day, and it will land at $1,111. That is where it will land. So if you are deciding, and it will be there forever, if you ever want to purchase it, that's what you will purchase it at. We currently have 40 people registered. I have a knowing in my spirit that there should be at least 30 more. I'm excited for everybody that's registered and that's showing up for the class. What I want to remind you of doing too every day is to set aside 3 hours. We've got 2 hours of training each day. And then I'm opening up for an hour of Q&A where you can ask me any questions that you have about the class. I'm also excited where the next micro program we're going to be running is called Giants. I'm actually going to hold you guys for an in-depth training, a half-day training, and then a full week in that container about Giants. I'll talk more about it later. Some of you have already requested information about it. I'll be doing plenty of live streams in the coming months to talk about that. So be on the lookout for the Giants Masterclass that's coming up soon. If you know that you are a giant and you have been crouching over, hiding in plain sight, thinking no one can see you, and you're ready to release all that's inside of you, you definitely want to participate in this class, because I'm going to hold you through a process that I do with every client, that I've done with myself, that allows them to show up in their full power without worrying about the repercussions of those actions. If that's you and you want information on Giants before anybody else gets it, go ahead and type Giants in the chat, and my team and I will make sure you get that information and you have first dibs on getting access to the course once it is released, or once we open the doors for the Giants program. All right, guys, I'm going to take off. Have an incredible day, and I will see you guys. Thank you so much for watching my show, my channel. Here's what I want you to do. If you really love what you've been listening to, I want you to subscribe to my channel and leave me a comment. No, really, leave a comment. Like right now. I'm not going to stop talking until you leave a comment. Seriously, leave a comment.